Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Card Hour. We are here back for another exciting session. And today's session is on the importance of understanding self. I'm your host, Kirandeep Sandhu. I'm a communication coach. And along with me today, I have Mr. Ashish Datta, who is a self leadership architect. Ashish, very excited to hear from you on this session. And you have chosen a very interesting topic too, the importance of understanding self. In fact, I have both your books here with me. One is Navigating the Dark Hole, and the other one is Sandwiched. And as you are talking about uh, understanding self, I think that everyone in this room and listening to us should be getting these books, which are available on Amazon, because Ashish will be sharing tips and strategies that he has shared in this book about why is it important to understand self. Ashish, why don't you give our listeners a little brief introduction about yourself and why are you the right person to be sharing about understanding self?
Thank you very much, Kiran. I'm also very happy to be here and greetings to all the viewers. My background is again being, I wouldn't use the word problem solver. I'm a problem manager because problems keep coming every day. And I have been exposed to problems for the last 30 years. And in different industries, working in different positions, dealing with different people. And I would say my exposure is not that 34 years of experience, 34 years of exposure in handling problems and people conflicts. I have worked across industries, starting first from auditing because my core is chartered accountancy. Then I moved into commercial operations, then into consulting, then into now in IT for the last 2 decades. So yes, diverse experience of problems facing and exposure to that. And yeah, that's what really defines me.
So, Ashish, the first question which has come up is that what does understanding self actually mean? Can we really understand ourselves? It's a very complex situation.
It is very difficult, and perhaps the most difficult thing I would say than anything else is to understand self. Now, before I talk about my definition of understanding self, it is important to understand the context. The first thing is, I believe that you can achieve success in whichever field in the corporate world only if you're able to effectively manage all your problems. Problems come from every side, every corner, despite your best efforts. There will be challenges. The world is getting more and more complex. It is already complex. There are different generations of people, different thought process, different ideas. So conflicts and problems are inevitable. Having said that, so your success comes from able to manage problems. Problems are not going to go away. It's going to, in fact, compound as you, in fact, get better in life or become more successful. In fact, your conflicts will, in fact, go up or your problems will go up. And if you want to be a really effective problem manager, you have to deal with people. Most of our problems are human centric. Very few are, which is only in our control, is not a problem. Is only dealing with people. And when we deal with people, we need to understand both the other side as well as ourselves because our natures don't change. What we are unique, as we know. We have our own thought process, we have our own style, we have our own liking. And then that's where we have to also understand self because then that's how we will have to interact with other people. Because if you really want to solve problems with people, you need to collaborate, which is you need to understand the other person, you need to understand self because you need to work on something which is best for both. So understanding self is about understanding your strengths, understanding your nature, understanding your working style, and more important, understanding what you don't know about yourself. Because for me, life has been a surprise. What I think I am actually not I am if I go through that process. So, yes, it is about understanding your strengths, your ability to handle problems, your ability to decipher other people, but more to understand self in terms of nature. I'll say your style, your nature, and your strengths.
Okay, so basically, Ashley, you're saying that we have to understand ourselves, and that I would add on that your weaknesses actually. That's also an important aspect of our nature, but our nature may have positives and negatives. And as you also said that word collaboration, we're working with others. And if we're working with others and we are not aware of ourselves, we assume that what we are doing is actually the right way. But I think that's where you are talking about that if we also analyze our flaws, we are able to then probably overcome those flaws. So, I mean, so anyway, it's a very, let's go to this next question, Ashish, that why do you think it's important to understand self?
I already gave that answer in terms of dealing with people.
Right,
How
collaboration.
many times, Alice, I am in corporate,
Hmm.
every day there are problems and challenges which are people related. And anybody in corporate will endorse what I say. And one of the it is all problems. Most of the problems are not really specific to any particular topic which is there. It is about how that person has behaved, how that person has handled, and very commonly is about why cannot that person do like this? Why is this person doing like this? The truth is nobody changes. Each has their own style. Each has their own nature. I'm a back end guy. I'm absolutely at the back end. That's what I like. I don't enjoy coming into the forefront at all. Whereas I could be dealing with somebody who likes to be in the forefront. Like, I'm not a very interesting person. I'll always be back, but there is somebody to deal with. But the point is, I have to deal with that person. So it is very important to know whom you're dealing with. You also very important to know what you are. I am a person who is in the back end. I don't like. Whereas there could be somebody who wants to be in the forefront or has a different process of dealing with things in a different way. If I'm aware of both, that collaboration becomes very easy. So in people-related problems, you have to understand nobody changes. You have to understand each other only and you can solve. It is not, and the collaboration word is important because it is not about the other person's interest. You could have a certain nature, let's say I observe you and I adapt to your style. But then what about mine? My interests are also important, equal partnership. So I know this is how we know what the other person style and nature is. If I can understand, then it is better to work out a kind of a collaborative solution. That's one part of why understanding self is important. The second and most important part, or rather more important part, I would say, is to understand what you really like. What you really like. Because what is your strength comes from what you like. It is very important from that perspective. I am a backend guy. I like being the backend, but I'm very good in operations. That's what I realized after a long time. I dabbled in many things. After I became a chartered accountant, my heart was really never into hardcore accounting. So I did many things. I did consulting. I was trying to do SAP implementation. I even tried my hand in Java coding. I learned Java coding. But then I understood my calling is in operations. That's what I really like to do. I had a lot of interest, and that's where I can excel. So it is very important to understand what you like and what you can do. And the understanding self process helps you in that. So want to deal with people, want to understand about yourself, what you really like and what you want to do, and pursue most of that to the best extent possible. I don't say that you always get what you like, but then you have to find, okay, like I am in the IT area. So what is that within that your strength that you can work on? You use the word about weakness to overcome. I would say be aware of your limitations. That is also very important. Uh, I say focus on your strength and be aware of your limitations. That's when you can actually do better. That's very important. And the third one, of course, is know your emotions. It is all about your emotions. It is important to know what really drives your emotions. If somebody comes to me with a very detailed answer, I get very irritated. I get very impatient. I've realized it. But if it's a quick answer, yes, no, I like it. So it's a nature, but the other person is interested to go there. And that's when I become impatient. I start to interrupt people. Once I know that, it's very easy to deal with people. So I would say these are the three reasons why it is so important to know yourself.
So I would also add on to our listeners that that I am also, along as a communication coach, I also have certified as a DISC and a consultant. And as a DISC consultant, DISC is a personality assessment. Now, when we talk about personality, it's not only just your personality, but it's also how your personality impacts your communication style. And a lot that Ashish has just shared with us, there are a lot of assessment tools that are in the market, and we at Leadership Card also help organizations as well as individuals to go through these detailed assessments so that you can really create these self-awareness about yourself, including your communication style, because constantly you are working in an environment where you need to collaborate. And what just Ashish has shared with us is that our communication styles may be different, and as a result, it is important for us to be able to communicate with people in the style that works best for them. For example, from our own tools, I realized that Ashish is a compliant person and I am a influencer person. Now, from these two different styles, Ashish likes his answers just like what he said. It is yeses and nos, and how with facts and figures. Whereas I might go into that detail, which might irritate him because he's not interested in the fluff. He's interested in the facts. So I think that's where it's important as a self-aware leader. We're constantly evaluating our communication style, and one of the tools, as I said, that Leadership Card also helps individuals go through or organizations go through is the DISC assessment. So that's something that what Ashish has talked about. Ashish, I'm going to take you to the next question, because a lot of times in our coaching sessions, when we are dealing with our group mentoring sessions, we're constantly hearing this, that my leader doesn't really know what is needed. That means, and here in your chapter, you have talked in your first chapter itself in your book, Navigating the Dark Hole, you've talked about how to become a great leader. So here, a lot of people say that our leaders don't know what they are doing, how they're speaking, what they want. So here you have shared some ideas about how to become a great leader. Will you shed some insights to our audience of how to become a good leader who is self-aware? Can you give them some tools that we can share with our audience today?
I'll do that. Before that, I'll just touch upon the DISC, what you talked about. It is very important to take those tests, because I can tell you the results will be a real surprise. That's very, very important. I think lot we don't know about ourselves. So a very important aspect of understanding yourself is, what is an understanding self? That understanding self is, of course, your strengths. More important to understand is how you come across to other people. How you come across to other people. And these tests can be a real surprise how you find out. That is one area. Second is to get feedbacks.
Mm.
You will know. I have got many feedbacks. I thought I was doing a great job, but then when I got the feedback, I was shocked.
Mm.
So it is very important to go through those tests and take the feedbacks. To me, success comes, as I said, if you can manage your problems. If you to manage your problems, you need to deal with people. And to deal with people, you must know how to interact and handle their emotions and styles, because nobody changes. I had somebody in my office who initially, when he joined, I used to talk to him and I used to keep quiet.
Mm.
And then when I'm moving, I already moved on to something else. I've already told him. Then he's going back and talking about that subject I raised. And I used to get very irritated. I used to get very angry. But then with time, I realized that he was actually taking that thing to think and process, because he likes that. He doesn't like to be rushed. Whereas I like a direct answer to be rushed. Now, when I understood my style, which is direct, and I now also to understand his style,
Mhm.
it helped me to adopt myself. It is about adoption.
Mm.
If one can adapt to the styles of, I'm not saying you adopt to the styles of somebody in terms of a bad or negative way, but at least how you deal with that person, knowing what you like and how would come up what the other person likes. I think that is a secret to success to me as a leader. It's all about dealing with people. It's about managing people. It's about understanding them, what they really come, what do they stand for, and deal with them accordingly. If somebody can decipher this part of it, they're bound to be successful. And a leader, if you see the success of a leader, is by example. You walk the talk. My book, Self Leadership, is what? You lead by example and talk. And this plays a very important role. It is all about self-awareness.
Yeah. In fact,
Like
for
I'm
all
talking to
our
you now. Yeah.
listeners, I would like to just add two interesting points that Ashish has just said. That today we have been in this partnership for over 3 years, but actually, I think we had a major personality clash, both me and Ashish, and that was first part because we both were different styles of leading. That's one. But I also like what Ashish has just said, that taking feedback. Now, I, for example, might have thought I'm a great leader, but a great leader, and this is again what people perceive about us is more important than what we think about ourselves. And I remember Ashish giving me this feedback where he said that, Kiran, a lot of times people know what to do. They don't want to be told what to do. They want to come up with a solution. They want to be feeling that they came up with that solution. So giving people that pace, that time to come up with that solution, just because I know the way from A to B may be the right one, but giving the others the respect and time to take that right step is also important. So I think that's where Ashish and I would say, and then meeting halfway, where acceptance towards each other and how we as a team can grow. Otherwise, how can you be in a relationship, in a partnership, in this after pandemic to living in different countries? It's because you have to start respecting people, their working styles, their behaviors, and accept what are your own limitations and what are their limitations. And I think that's where the leadership journey goes. I'm just adding one thing, Ashish, over here, that we often hear our people saying that, oh, we were sent by our organization for this training, but more than us, our leaders need these trainings, right? So this is a message to all our leaders out there that in order for your team to grow, you first need to become a more self-aware leader and go through these assessments yourself before you push others, because you need to grow and before you can ask others to grow in their leadership journey. Right, Ashish? What is your...
Absolutely. It's all leading by example.
Absolutely.
You have to be in the forefront to lead it. Very true. You have to first go through the exercise yourself. If you really want to be successful, as a leader, just not training in all aspects. You have to show the way.
You have
And
to.
that this process of understanding self is so very crucial. And I'd like to reiterate the point I made, which is understand self from others' point of view, how you come across to others. That is very important. That's where the feedback process is very important. That's where I go through those different tests. I didn't know I was compliant. Only when I went through a test, I assessed myself. So how you come across to other people is the key aspect of understanding self.
Okay. Ashish, in your chapter 6, which is on self-awareness, today I have brought you've been put on the spot about your book. And you've talked about expectations, you've talked about assessment and action plans. Now, in expectations, you're talking about the CRM. Would you like to share a glimpse about what is the CRM with our listeners today? And how important is that in the self-leadership journey?
So taking a step back, self-awareness, what I talk about, is a part of the 3S mechanism. That's the real self-awareness, self-improvement, and self-control. Self-awareness is become aware of yourself. How you become aware of yourself from different angles. The first is, in everything there are skills you require. And to me, communication. If you really think about it, all are human-centric problems, right? The key is to, if you really want to solve a problem or even manage a problem in the way that you want, you have to get the other person, you have to influence the other person to come your way, right? So there are two parts to it. First is, I'll be ready to listen to you if I like you. That's the fact of it. If my boss, I'm not talking of socially smiling and saying, I'm not talking that. Really, let's listen to what Ashish Kiran is saying, because liking is about respect, building does work it. So the relationship is that R, which is you must have good relation. Only then people will be ready to listen to you. Once they're ready to listen to you, you must communicate in a manner which addresses three very important aspects of communication, which is, if I'm communicating with you, Kiran, I need to satisfy three things for you to be interested in that conversation. First is, by the way, I don't mean just talking, it could be even writing or chatting, whichever way. One is, am I solving any problem of yours? Or secondly, I'm giving you information which will be useful to you or beneficial to you in the future. Or the third is, I'm addressing any concern you have raised or a question you have asked. Correct? Only then that conversation makes sense. You'll be there, because ultimately I have to influence you. And of course, that has to be delivered, that communication, with the right non-verbals. That is communication, C. And then the last part is M, stands for maturity, which is you control very little of this world. You don't know whether the other person will get influenced or not, despite your best effort. Like, problems happen. So I call it a disbelief mindset. Some have objected, some says, why are you talking negative? But to me, that's a positive mindset.
You always said you're a very negative.
Expect everything to go wrong.
You always
I'm a pessimist.
Negative, pessimist person. You have to share with our viewers that why do you call yourself as a pessimistic person? Because
in fact, I am a pessimist by choice, which means I expect everything to go wrong. Which means I am always prepared. When you expect things to go wrong, what happens is you have different risk management strategies. What happens? And then with that good preparation, you actually become successful and you become more confident to handle it. To me, it's a positive mindset, as I call it. That's maturity. You're always prepared. You'll be able to handle objections.
Yeah. So Ashish, just to point out here that again bring it up to our viewers, that by saying what Ashish has said, that he is a pessimistic person, is actually being self-aware of a trait that he has, which he, instead of looking at it from a negative lens, has converted it into a strength, because that way he can utilize his pessimistic outlook to find solutions where he thinks he might be finding problems. So I think it's very important to be a self-aware leader who knows what and how those strengths and weaknesses can actually be utilized to solve problems for others and self. Yes.
Yeah, well summarized, Kiran. That's exactly what I meant. So the self-awareness process is to become aware of yourself as to how are you able to effectively use CRM to solve your problems. How you become self-aware? You become self-aware by first knowing what does CRM mean, gaining that knowledge, gaining through training sessions. That's why I said trainings are very important. You handle different perspectives. You get feedbacks from people, how you're doing. You do your own introspection. Because to me, the key is awareness. If I'm aware that I'm an angry person and it is affecting my work, I think we are mature enough to correct ourselves. How people perceive it. So the self-awareness is the process where we understand where I stand today and see that gap. Once I know, okay, like once it happened that I was speaking in my office to somebody, and then people were very worried outside. Later, I came to know, and they asked me, "What happened? Are you firing that person?" I said, "I was just talking to him normally." It is how people perceive it. So, self-awareness makes us aware of how people perceive us, and that's the key to success. If I know that this is a problem, then I'll be better equipped to handle. So the self-awareness is a part of that process. Once I know what is my gap, I'll work to improve myself through training, coaching, or which is self-improvement. And the third is self-control, my emotions. How I can control my emotions, how people perceive me in terms of, I think it's more the emotion part. So this process of self-awareness helped me to understand where I stand, how I improve, because self-improvement, self-control comes out of self-awareness. Again, I became aware of it. So the key is to be aware of who you really are. And that is the key to success.
Very well put, Ashish. I'm coming to the last question, but as you were talking about, a person needs to be knowing where they are. Now, I'm bringing back your book, Sandwich. Now, in this, a self-aware leader is probably somewhere in the middle, sandwiched in a team situation where there is a lot happening, right? So, and when we talk about emotions, generally our emotions exaggerate when we are in a team situation. We're not obviously emotional about ourselves. We're always emotion when we are dealing with somebody else, how they have impacted us, whether verbally or non-verbally. So now can you share with us that in a team situation, how can I be more self-aware, and so that I can navigate that very difficult dark hole and come out of it? Can you share with us 3 tips for our viewers on how can I deal with my emotions as a self-aware leader in a team dynamic situation?
The very first thing is to understand self from the perspective what people, how people perceive you. That is very important to understand self. Once you've understood self, closely observe everybody. Invest that time in observing who, what, how do they react. That needs a lot of effort, lot of study, note down, understand what they stand for, what is the value. That is the second part of working in a team with your, and the third is situation appropriate behavior. What is situation appropriate behavior is, you may be stressed inside, you may be angry at somebody, but what comes across is what is expected in that situation. That is very important. You have to practice, learn to control the situation appropriate. I'm not going to calming your mind. You can do whatever you want. But in my case, when I interact with people, I must show situation appropriate behavior. So the 3 things are understanding self, how people perceive you. So you're aware. The second part of awareness is observing others, how they did. So you know how to adapt yourself to under them. because that will help you to understand their why, what they stand for, what is it, and then accordingly deal and adopt with them. And the third is to show situation appropriate behavior. I emphasize on that because we human beings have a lot of emotions and feelings. It's very difficult to get away. Sometimes I get so angry inside, but outside I'm trying to say what is necessary. That is the thing we must learn how to do it. And self-awareness process helps in all three.
Thank you so much, Ashish, for sharing with our listeners today about how to become a self-aware leader, a value-added session for all those who have any further questions related to today's session about self-awareness. Do reach us out at support@leadershipcard.com or leave or reach us on our WhatsApp numbers. We, as coaches of Leadership Card, are always here to support you in your leadership growth journey to help you unlock your hidden potential. Till we meet next week for another valuable session where we will be unlocking new secrets of how you can become a better leader. Till then, this is Kirili Sandhu and Ashish Datta signing off till we meet again. Thank you from the Leadership Card team.
Thank you very much.